Cristiano Ronaldo has won everything: Champions Leagues, Ballon d'Ors, league titles in 3 different countries, a European Championship, records that may never be broken by anyone, ever, everything, except one trophy. The World Cup. It's the single empty space in the most decorated career football has ever seen. And in 2026, at 41 years old, Ronaldo gets his final shot at filling it. No more tournaments after this, no second chances. The last chapter of a 20-year story and the one ending that has always escaped him. Now picture it for a second. Ronaldo on the podium, the trophy lifted above his head, fireworks tearing across the sky. And one last su'u screamed in front of 1 billion people watching around the world. If that moment ever happens, football doesn't just celebrate, it descends into civil war. Because the second Ronaldo lifts a World Cup, the greatest debate in the history of sport reopens overnight, and this time, it never closes again. Think back to 2022. When Messi finally won it in Qatar, a huge part of the football world called it the end. Messi had completed football. The GOAT argument was settled. Case closed. But if Ronaldo gets his own name on that same trophy, suddenly nothing is settled. Suddenly we're right back where we started, arguing in comment sections until the end of time. So here's the real question. Can Portugal actually win it? And the honest answer might surprise you: yes. More easily than most people think. But before we get to why, you have to understand something about Ronaldo and this trophy. Because his World Cup history isn't a story of glory. It's a story of heartbreak. 2006, a 21-year-old Ronaldo reaches the semi-final and loses. 2010, knocked out by eventual champion Spain. 2014, Portugal don't even survive the group. 2018, he scores a perfect hat-trick against Spain, looks unstoppable, and then gets dumped out by Uruguay days later. And 2022, the cruelest of all. Dropped to the bench by his own manager, filmed in tears walking down the tunnel, watching Portugal crash out to Morocco while he sat and waited for a moment that never came. 5 tournaments, 5 different kinds of pain. That's the weight Ronaldo carries into 2026. Not just the hope of winning, but the memory of every time it slipped away. And yet, this time genuinely feels different. Because this isn't the old Portugal, dragging Ronaldo's name around 1 or 2 good players. This generation might be the most complete squad the country has ever produced. Start with the midfield. Vitinha just controlled the center of the pitch for the best club side in Europe, and he does the exact same thing in a Portugal shirt. He dictates tempo like he's playing in slow motion while everyone around him panics. Next to him, you've got Bruno Fernandes, bringing chaos, goals, and a final pass nobody sees coming. Then Bernardo Silva, escaping pressure in spaces the size of a phone booth. And Ju Neves, a kid who covers every blade of grass like he's playing 3 positions at once. That's not a midfield. That's a stranglehold. Against anyone in the world, Portugal simply do not lose the middle of the pitch. Up front, it's almost unfair. Rafael Leo can end a game with 1 run, the kind of player defenders have nightmares about. Ju Flix can unlock a parked bus with a single touch when he's switched on. And then there's Gonzalo Ramos. Remember him? This is the man who scored a World Cup hat-trick the one and only time he started ahead of Ronaldo. A striker that good, coming off the bench, is the kind of luxury most nations would kill for. At the back, Portugal are just as serious. Urban Dias organizes the whole defense and refuses to lose. Nuno Mendes has quietly turned into the best left-back on the planet, and he's only 23. Ju Cancelo still glides forward and creates from deep. And behind all of them stands Diogo Costa, the kind of goalkeeper who wins you a penalty shootout on his own. So the talent is undeniable. On paper, Portugal can stand toe-to-toe with anybody. But on paper means nothing at a World Cup. Because the road to that trophy is a gauntlet. There's Argentina, the defending champions, the team that knows exactly what it takes to win this thing. There's France, a machine that reaches finals in their sleep, stacked with pace and power in every line. There's Spain, the current kings of Europe, who pass teams into the ground until they break. There's Brazil, always carrying that ridiculous individual quality. And there's England, finally turning their golden generation into a side that wins knockout games. 5 monsters. And Portugal have to get past 2 or 3 of them in a row to reach the top. It's possible. The squad is good enough. But it brings us to the one obstacle that has nothing to do with any opponent. The question nobody in that dressing room wants to say out loud. What do you actually do with Cristiano Ronaldo? Because the truth, the uncomfortable truth, is that Ronaldo at 41 is not the player he was at 27. He can't press for 90 minutes. He can't sprint in behind the way he used to. He can't cover the ground that modern football demands from a striker. That's not an insult. It's just what time does to everybody, even him. But here's the other truth, the one his critics keep forgetting. He still scores. You doubt him, he scores. You write him off, he scores. You bench him, he comes on and scores. The man simply refuses to stop being decisive in the moments that matter. So everyone offers the same safe, cowardly answer. Play him sometimes. Bench him sometimes. Have it both ways. I don't buy it. Here's my actual take, and I'll say it plainly. Portugal win this World Cup only if Ronaldo accepts being a substitute. Not a benched legend sulking on the sidelines. A weapon. The single most dangerous closer in the entire tournament. Picture it, Ronaldo coming on at minute 65 against defenders whose legs are already gone. With the game balanced on a knife's edge, to do the one thing he is still genuinely elite at, putting the ball in the back of the net when everything is on the line. That's not disrespect. That's the smartest possible way to use a legend in the final years of his career. Because here's what actually happens. Portugal's attack moves faster, sharper, and far less predictably when they start without a fixed number 9. The opponent defends a moving target for an hour, gets stretched, gets tired, and then Portugal unleash the greatest goal scorer in the history of the sport at the exact moment the defense is breaking. It's almost unfair when you say it out loud. But that plan needs two incredibly rare things to happen. Humility from Ronaldo, a man who has started every big game of his life for 2 decades. And the courage from Roberto Martinez to walk up to the most famous athlete on earth and tell him he's on the bench. That second one might be the hardest job in world football. And whether Martinez has the nerve to do it is honestly the biggest storyline of Portugal's entire campaign. Because if he gets it right, if Ronaldo buys in, then Portugal have absolutely everything. The midfield, the attack, the defense, the depth, the experience, and something money can't buy, a generation of players who grew up worshipping the man they now share a dressing room with. These players wore his shirts as kids. They copied his celebrations in their back gardens. They tried his free kick stance in school playgrounds. And now they get to chase a World Cup for him. That's not just respect. That's a kind of motivation you can't coach into a team. And at a World Cup, that belief decides the tiny margins. The one save. The one goal, the one penalty in a shootout that separates the champions from everybody who goes home. So imagine it all coming together. Imagine Ronaldo, after 20 years and 5 heartbreaks, finally lifting that trophy not as the star carrying the team, but as the man who came off the bench and closed out the final. Football history changes forever in that instant. Some people will call it the perfect ending, the missing piece, the storybook finish. The greatest career finally complete. Others will say it still doesn't touch what Messi did in Qatar, that one tournament can't rewrite the whole argument. And that's exactly the debate that would never, ever die. But I don't want to tell you the answer. I want to know what you think. If Cristiano Ronaldo wins the 2026 World Cup, does he finally pass Messi and end the debate for good? Or does Qatar still win the argument, forever? Drop your verdict in the comments. And be honest about it.